that felt like emotional at the end of that fight. It's one of those roller coasters that we all went on, and you're staggered. And to be fair, Wilder did help. He fought at the bitter end, and when you look at the commitment both men showed to go out on their shield, to give everything they had, especially, and I think it was even more amazing, only weeks, 1 or 2 weeks after Anthony Joshua's last fight, where he showed so little commitment and so little willing to go out on his shield and was very reserved. I think it almost made the fight even more, it showed even more how powerful it was.
Well, you've only got to look at Joshua's body language after the fight, his behaviour on the stool. It's behaviour warriors don't behave like. Like if you look at Tyson, look at Deontay Wilder dipped his head, much to say, I've given me all, I can't do any more. And he was just all out. But he wasn't making any motions like he wasn't discomforting. Yeah. He wasn't like trying to do anything but soak it all in. Deontay Wilder fought his heart out. He had nothing left at all. And I think he was teetering on being conscious when he sat in his stool. That's how hard he fought. But AJ, he didn't do anything wrong. You can only do what you can do in boxing. He just hasn't got the desire or the will, not a quarter of it, of these other two men, Wilder or my son. But listen, he's been a good champion, but does he ever beat these other two men? Definitely not, because he's not a one-punch knockout artist like Wilder either. The
word you used there, behaving, I think that's a great word. And I've heard Teddy Atlas use this word before as well, where he talks about behaving like a fighter. And with AJ, obviously he's got so much natural ability as an athlete. Yeah. But when you're seeing him get knocked down by Ruiz, and the referee looks at him and asks, do you want to continue? And his body language is all wrong. And then again, when Usyk is getting the better of him, the body language. And that's it for me as well. That's why I don't think he beats either of those two either. I think he should beat Wilder. I think he's got a better rounded game than Wilder. But I just think that Wilder, like you say, he wants it so bad. And that right hand is a killer.
The minute he stings AJ with a right hand like that, wow, it's good night for AJ. Yeah. Because he hasn't got the resilience to cope with anything like that. And believe me, Usyk is not the puncher Wilder is. And
Usyk got a reaction. Usyk got a big reaction. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, he's not a knockout ass. He's a respectable puncher, Usyk. He's an airport puncher.
Well, he's a cruiserweight, isn't he?
Yeah. Wilder's a lights out man. He'll just switch your lights off completely. And AJ, they can't deal with it. Nobody else can. Him and Wilder, they're out there on their own.
What were you thinking as you were watching the AJ Usyk fight? Because it felt like the fight just sort of passed AJ by while Usyk just wrapped up the rounds.
Well, I'll tell you what I got. He was just trying to stay in the game. He felt Usyk's power early on with the left hand straight down the pipe in about the first or the second round. Thought, hang on. He made his mind up then. Yeah. I can't take this power. I've got to watch I don't get knocked out. And he just settled for second best. As long as he finished on his feet, he did enough to keep him in the fight instead of trying to win. You've got to try and win. He was in Tottenham, 3 miles from his house. He was defending his country. He should have defended like Tyson defends it. Yeah. He didn't do that. He just wanted to get his money and run. But there's a difference. Tyson's a warrior. Mm-hmm. He's a fighting man. He's a businessman and a poster boy. Yeah. There's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? But for what he is, he's done very, very well. Anybody who can pick a world championship belt up, and I mean, they had it given to him by this other fella, but he took it off, Charles Martin, and they had to rob it off my son in the beginning to give him it, or he'd have never been champion. Only for my son beating Klitschko, Joshua would never ever have had a belt. He would have had to go and win it proper, and he weren't capable of beating any of those guys. He's proved it.
I mean, when you talk about settling for second best, when you're defending your title, I think you have to mentally fight as if like you're competing for the title and the belts are up for grabs. And he didn't have that eye of the tiger. He didn't go out there and go, you know what it is, I've lost 9 rounds. I'm just going to go out and try and win. And if I lose and get knocked out, I'll lose. He didn't commit like that. And even at the end, when Usyk was all over him, you seen him sort of walk off and go, as if I survived. And I thought to myself, that's not the mentality I'm expecting from someone trying to win a world title.
Definitely not. When you're fighting for yourself, your own self and your country and your fans, you've got to be a die-hard man. And nobody wants to die in the ring, but that's the profession you've adopted. This is what you're getting paid to do. You've got to make the best possible job of it. And I would rather get knocked out trying than lose on points just to stay in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And and I definitely thought at the beginning he's got too much for Usyk, which he should have had. The man was a blowed up cruiserweight. He only weighed about 15 and a half stone a night. He'd have weighed at 15-10 or something, fully dressed. He'd have been 15 stone. He had the brawn, he had the strength for 3 men, a bigger man all round, and a good array of boxing skills. But did he use them? I'll tell you why he never used them. His heart and desire let him down. And they go together. Ability and desire to win go together. If one's missing, forget it.
So,
because I know loads of lads with bags of ability, no heart, and they're nowhere.
We're seeing against fighters like Klitschko and Dillian White, AJ pulled the trigger, but then after Ruiz, he just doesn't look the same. Do you think that is the reason, or do you think there's something else going on there? I
think, in my own mindset, the Klitschko fight emptied his tank that much and terrified him. He's never got over it. Because I think Klitschko let him off the hook for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Klitschko did nothing. He was out. He got him down in the 5th or 6th round. He did nothing for the next 3 rounds, Klitschko.
They both took 3 rounds off, didn't they?
Took 3 rounds off, and I wonder why. Klitschko, you could say that because he's another 3 years older. He's 42 or something. AJ, he was just trying to recover from a big knockdown. But I think once he got knocked down proper like that and felt the power and how it feels to get nearly knocked out, and the feeling's a horrible thing. It's the most horriblest thing you can ever go through. I think he's a bit too much for his mindset. And he's never got over it. I don't want it to happen again. It's like having a bad car crash, isn't it? If you had a bad car crash, you don't want to look forward to another one, do you? And that's how it is with him.
How do you see the rematch going between AJ and Usyk?
If he doesn't change his team around and make adjustments, Usyk will beat him again. Same thing, repeat. Yeah. But if he changes his team up, but how can you breathe heart and desire into a man who ain't got none? How can you do that?
Well, I didn't see the corner screaming at him. You expect the corner with maybe 3 or 4 rounds to go, start to scream at him and give him the fireman speech, but it wasn't. It was just business as usual.
All I heard was brilliant work, brilliant work. Round 9, he's lost every round. Get behind the jab. What? Yeah. You don't need that in your corner when you're trying to win titles. But I do think his team, Rob McCracken, knew that Usyk could knock him out any time. He was frightened to get him KO'd.
Yeah.
Rob McCracken and his team wanted to get him to hear the final bell. He wasn't bothered about winning because they knew Usyk could count him out, and they didn't want that to happen. And they'd settled for a points loss, and they were trying to keep him in the game. They're trying to keep him in the fight.
There's apparently Eddie Hearn's pushing Dillian White as the mandatory, saying that he should be next for Tyson Fury. Who out of the 3 fighters do you expect Tyson to fight next?
Let's put it this way. I don't think White's getting past Wallin.
It's a tough one.
I think Otto Wallin, he beats Dillian White, to be fair with you. Tough fight. And to be honest with you, if I was a gambling man, you got to pick Wallin because he's a southpaw, 6'5", 17 and a half stone. The kid can box, he's got balls, and he can hit. You know what I'm saying? So White's got his own problems. But is White in Tyson's class? No. There's nobody in his class, Tyson. Whoever he decides to fight next will be a run out for Tyson. And then he'll look at Usyk. Usyk's on his mind. He wants to unify the belts. Whatever he wants to do after that is his own business. But I know it'd be hard for Tyson to get motivated with men like Dillian White, Chisora, and all these 5 and 6 tier heavyweights. It's hard work for Tyson, though. If you want to see the best Tyson Fury, put Tyson in hot water and let him fight his way out of it. That's the only way you see Tyson Fury perform.
It's such a shame that we didn't get the AJ fight when we should have done. It's a real shame.
We was all definitely disappointed with that. But listen, the boxing fraternity ought to be ashamed of themselves. How they let that one slip, I don't know. That's ridiculous.
Well, the idea of rematch clauses make. I mean, in no other sport in the world do you have, let's say football, 2 semi-finalists, and then you get a winner and a winner on the other side, and then they don't fight in the final. They go and rematch the other semi-final. The whole boxing structure is the only people who think boxing like that makes sense are people who've been in boxing so long that they've forgotten what normality is, in my opinion. Because every other sport is different.
Quite agree. Rematch clauses should be banned.
Yeah.
That's why they have contenders, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because other men's there working their way up to fight for a title. And with a rematch, with all these rematch clauses, it could be 3 years before Tyson fights Usyk or Joshua.
Yeah. It's
then
insanity.
they're past the best, then, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is what I say. This is why I enjoyed Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, because both men fought at the best. Young men fought at the best, not when there was 5 years past the sell-by date.